The Louisville Cardinals have arrived at U.S. Airways Center in Phoenix ahead of the West Region Final. The Cardinals will take on the Florida Gators for a spot in the 2012 Final Four in New Orleans. So the Florida Gators, how'd they get here? Well, their last game in the Sweet 16 was an impressive performance. Casey Prather hitting the alley-oop slam off the feed from Kenny Boynton. Later on, game tied at 30, getting it done inside. Patrick Young slamming it home. Billy Donovan and the Gators led by 6 at halftime. Still had the lead in the second half. Eric Murphy buries the 3 to put the Gators up by 9. 2 minutes to go. Finishing touches here. Smallest man on the court, Irving Walker, the 3. Gators go on to win it 68-58 to move in to the Elite Eight. As for Louisville, they talk on #1 seed in the West, Michigan State. And Louisville just took it to them. They had a double-digit lead almost throughout this whole game. Shane Bohannon working inside nicely. Puts the Cardinals back up by 10 under 3 minutes to go off the missed free throw. Current first tips, and then Russ Smith puts it home. And pulling away now, Peyton Siva finds Kyle Couric for the 3. Louisville wins this one with surprising ease, 57-44. So that sets up the bracket, and this was the bracket that had the most carnage. No 1, 2, 3 seeds to be seen in the regional final. Instead, 4 seed Louisville, the highest seed to advance to the brink of the Final Four, and 7 seed Florida opposite them. They didn't have the most impressive regular seasons, either of these two, but they've caught fire in March when it matters, and they stand 1 victory away from the Final Four. Let's take a look at their paths. As you can see, Louisville played the lower average seed, so technically their road statistically not as tough, and their scores prove it. They've won by an average by 23 points per game. The Cardinals are turning it over more than their opponents are, but so far it hasn't mattered at all, although the competition should step up big time as they go against a red-hot Florida team at the moment. Billy Donovan and Rick Pitino, your head coaches, they are connected going back years in NCAA basketball. We'll tell you about that and how it could affect the opening tip and tonight's game between Florida and Louisville. Coaches Billy Donovan on the left, Rick Pitino on the right, the student and the teacher. Donovan was a star guard at Providence for Pitino, a team that 25 years ago went to the Final Four. He then played under him briefly for the Knicks and then coached under him for 5 years at Kentucky. And now Billy Donovan making his own resume as a head coach, and it's a pretty darn successful one. As you can see, he has 5 fewer appearances than does Rick Pitino, a couple fewer Final Fours, but he's actually won 2 national titles in 06 and 07 as the student, to just 1 for Rick Pitino. That said, they've met as head coaches 6 times, and all 6 times Rick Pitino has won. Will that change today? A lot at stake. A spot in the Final Four in New Orleans. Carl Hess, Vern Harris, and Doug Sermons are your officials. Louisville in the white with the red trim. Florida, the blue with the orange trim. Let's send it out to Kevin Harlan, Len Elmore, and Reggie Miller.
Well, you expect Louisville right now to be able to move the ball. They've got some advantages inside. Big, strong Chase Bohannon being guarded by Eric Murphy. That could be a mismatch.
Well, for people who want to know what wins games and championships, offense or defense, we got a classic match tonight. Louisville with that great pressure defense, and we know about the shooting of the Florida Gators.
Zhang with the miss. That's off of Florida. Yesterday we were watching practice, and Zhang did not practice. He was watching from the sidelines as they were resting him.
Well, 40 minutes on Thursday. I think Rick Pitino wanted to give a little bit of rest, but he was very vocal on the sideline, giving instructions to the rest of the guys defensively.
It's Peyton Siva. And Couric with his first offering. Rebound by Murphy inside for the Gators.
Nice block out by Murphy on Shane Bohannon. That's going to be a matchup to watch, as I just mentioned. And Florida, yesterday at the press conferences, they previewed their strategy. They talked about going inside out, maybe trying to establish Patrick Young on the move to occupy Gorgie Jang.
Here comes Irving Walker. He is a senior from Brooklyn, New York, and Kenny Boynton's got it right now. And here's Beal, and he'll put up a three right down the middle.
Well, that was pure. Bradley Beal, as I mentioned on Thursday, the freshman comes in here like he's not a freshman.
First team All-SEC as a freshman.
How many times did we see Rick Pitino at practice scream at the guys, the guards, about having active hands on the perimeter because Walker, Boynton, and Beal can knock down shots right in their face.
And a switch on defense. Back out to Keurig. He'll put up another three. He's the leading scorer. Kyle Keurig, a senior from Evansville, Indiana.
Rick Pitino's looking for a big game for him. He didn't think he was going to be able to get off against Michigan State because of that great defense on Thursday.
Goaltending. And Boynton finds the two.
Well, that's what Florida talked about also, attacking the rim, but being smart about it with the shots. They get a floater clearly on the downward flight. And Gorgie Jang sends a message. He probably knew that was goaltending.
Well, beating a #1 seed as this Louisville team did the other night, taking care of Michigan State, a surprise to some. They beat them by double digits to advance to this game and a chance for the Final Four.
Well, the surprise was that they held a team that averaged about 72 points a game to just 44. A lot of it was that pressure D really took Michigan State out of their rhythm. And that's essentially what they're going to have to do with Florida.
Fewest points for a #1 seed. It's gone 2 of 2. Good pass to Murphy. Knocked away. Little shove inside with 17:41 to play, and the foul on Keurig.
Well, these numbers illustrate exactly what Louisville did to Michigan State. And again, the 28.6 field goal percentage and 5 for 21 from outside. It just shows you that the pressure, the changes on the fly really affected the Michigan State offense.
Yeah, but you have a better scoring team tonight in Florida with those three guards and able to get into the lane and penetrate and make shots.
Well, here's trying to establish Patrick Young inside.
Into Bohannon, who had a big game for Louisville, but they hear early here from Patrick Young, the sophomore from Jacksonville. Young the other night had 7 points and 9 rebounds.
And he had the size advantage over Bohannon down low. That's a little left shoulder hook.
But Red, you're right. You know, this is a much better offensive team, Florida, I think, than Michigan State. But this is like one and done on any given night.
Jang to Siva. Back to Jang.
That's a great decision by Peyton Siva. On the drive, he saw the shot blocker coming and dished it off. And that's how he's grown. You know, earlier in the year, he might have tried to take that shot instead of finding the open man.
Yeah, how about the hustle of Shane Bohannon, the freshman, saving the basketball out of bounds to keep that possession alive for the Cardinals.
Gators the other night took care of Marquette from the Big East, winning that game by 10.
There's that pressure by Louisville.
And there's those active hands, too.
Right.
Keurig now Siva for three. That is Peyton Siva, who is a junior from Seattle, Washington.
And here's the pressure right now being applied by Louisville. More of a containment kind of pressure. And it's man-to-man.
Billy Donovan said he was going to live with Peyton Siva knocking down that shot. What they don't want is Siva being able to penetrate and get into the paint and make things happen. They're going to have to live with those outside shots.
Murphy inside. Rebound by Zhang. Gorgie Zhang is from Senegal. He is a sophomore, played prep basketball here in the U.S. And a long outside shot by Chris Smith. Zhang has it, shot clock at 19 because it didn't hit the rim.
Zhang did a nice job using his length to corral that rebound without making contact.
Shot clock at 9 for Siva. He'll penetrate inside and dish. Quick hands to Beal. Vacuumed in by Young, and here they come the other way with Irving Walker. All 5'8" of them. Launching the three. Picked up by Bohannon.
That was an NBA range three there by Irving Walker. That's exactly what Donovan wants to do. Come up with the loose ball, long rebound, and get out in transition.
They're not shy.
No. The most threes made and taken in Division I basketball, these Florida Gators.
And they average 10 makes a game, which is #1. But Donovan has said, you stop shooting, I'm going to yank you. I'm going to take you out of the game. Keurig, he'll put up another three, and that goes right down the middle. Big East honorable mention player. He wants to stay aggressive with his shot, and when he does, usually good things happen for the Cardinals with an 8-0 run now for Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville's been able to move the ball and get the open looks. Florida getting caught in rotation defensively.
Pointing the bump, and on the perimeter, Chris Smith will pick up the foul. That is the first on him. Keurig putting it in. One of the two four-year seniors for Louisville.
Well, Florida started the game on a 7-0 run to open. That's been answered by an 8-0 Louisville run. The 4 seed in the West region. Louisville now with the 8-7 advantage. 3 different Louisville players have scored. On the Florida side, they've got 3 different ones who have scored as well, but they've taken 5 shots, have the Gators. Each starter has taken 1 shot. No one's taken more than 2, so they're spreading out the offense already. Let's get back to U.S. Airways Center and Kevin Hall.
Off the paint, make sure that this Florida offense feels their defense.
Here's Boynton, who hoists a 3, picked up by newly instated Wayne Blackshear. Scotty Wilbekin has come in for the Gators. Here comes Siva, sneaking it inside. And Bohannon, who had 15 second-half points on Thursday night.
Yeah, Shane Bohannon is one of those guys you got to go inside to because he's a threat.
Travel.
He's got good hands, strong upper body, close to the basket. He's a load to handle.
10-0 Louisville run. Started by 2 consecutive Florida turnovers, leading to Louisville baskets. And we are 6 minutes into this West Regional. Final, Siva wheeling into Murphy.
See that wall that was sealed off down low when Siva tried to get into the paint?
The explosive Russ Smith taking it inside. And newly instated Casey Prather. He's a sophomore from Jacksonville, Tennessee, picks it up. And here he comes the other way, battling a confidence issue. But they think he's reclaimed his game here in the postseason.
So active on Thursday for the Gators.
Murphy. That's a kid whose dad played in the NBA and left Boston College as a terrific player, and those are pretty good genes because they've spread to his son. That's Eric Murphy out of Kingston, Rhode Island.
Yeah, Jay Murphy, a 7-footer time when he was there.
And a little block there that Pops would be proud of, huh?
Yeah, I don't think Jay was a shot blocker.
Here they come the other way as Smith and Boynton will bump into each other, and Russ Smith has picked up the Louisville foul.
Well, look how the Louisville defense, they've come out. But you take a look, 3 guys on the penetrator, leaving Eric Murphy wide open. And that wasn't necessarily the kind of contested shot that Rick Pitino wanted.
Blackshear checks out. Kyle Keurig is back in the game for the Cardinals.
You know, one guy that Rick Pitino circled on that scouting report was Eric Murphy. Because of his shot-making ability, especially in the zone, they're going to have to pay close attention to number 33.
Billy Donovan also wanted his guys cutting in that lane, didn't they, Reg, in practice yesterday as Wilbekin takes it in. There's a rejection, and that is another goaltend, the second of which is called on Zhang.
Well, that time you saw Louisville go from zone to man. Talk about changing on the fly. And here, Wilbekin with a nice drive again, coming down.
Well, Lynn, how many messages is Zhang going to send?
Well, do you remember Georgetown, and I
Yes.
forget in the final when Patrick Ewing just threw away a ton of shots early?
From the instructions of Coach Thompson.
No matter whether they were goaltending or not,
Absolutely
to
not.
send a message. Now, I think that's enough messages for Gorgie Jang. Now it's time to play some more solid defense and get there a little bit earlier.
Florida in their full court pressure.
Keurig has hit a second three-point shot, and he's got 6. That is a good sign for the Louisville Cardinals with some full court pressure. Keurig the other night was only 1 of 5 beyond the arc.
Yeah, that's a good sign that Kirk is knocking down shots. An even better sign, Louisville's getting them in transition. But the freshman has an answer.
So here's the problem. With both of these teams that both like to pressure full court, it at times can unleash the three-point shooting. Now on the season, Louisville only shot 31% from long distance. They had a big Thursday against Michigan State from beyond the arc.
Bradley Beal now has gone 2 of 2 shooting beyond the arc this afternoon for the Gators. He's got 6. Across the lane. Zhang. Rebound. Bohannon. And a whistle and a foul. It's called inside. It's going to go on Bohannon. We got a timeout. Cardinals had their worst three-point shooting season ever this year. 3 of 5 today on threes. They made 9 on Thursday. As you take a look at our early game summary here from Phoenix.
We talked about Florida and their ability to make shots, averaging 10 threes from long distance. A good start to this first half for Florida. And then we talked about it. Louisville may be over-helping a little bit, and that's what's allowing Florida to get some of these wide open threes.
Yeah, on the penetration, we saw a number of times the guards are even triple teamed as they get close to the paint, and that's leaving wide open shooters. I think right now Louisville's got to be able to play solid defense, leave Gorgui Dieng back there to block shots, but also to be able to cover shooters.
Great stroke by Beal to start the game, hitting his first 2 threes. Fanning right there, Siva, Carrick, and here comes Chris Smith. Wilbekin will pick him up. Gorgui Dieng, Young to meet him there defensively.
Good discipline there by Young to stay down on Dieng.
A 2 by Carrick. He's got it. Yep.
Yeah, he's got the feeling right now. I've seen Louisville a number of times, and Kyle Cork has struggled against teams that are very quick defensively. But right now, he's getting open looks, creating stuff off the bounce. He's playing with a lot of confidence.
You'll remember Carrick was that kid a couple years ago at Freedom Hall against then #1 ranked Syracuse, who had that 22-point game and just made the building explode. There's a turnover right there for the Gators. Under 11 to play, and the other way, Chris Smith. And Peyton Siva.
So they can run a couple double screens here for Kirk while he has the hot hand. Try to force feed him a little bit.
Carrick has 8. He is 3 of 5 to start the game with the shot clock now down to 9. The 2-year starter Smith.
Get the ball down low to Bohannon.
The freshman missing. Wilbekin with the rebound.
Florida doing a nice job of blocking Dieng off the glass and forcing Bohannon out just a little bit to make that shot more difficult.
And we hear Charles Barkley all the time talk about live and die by the 3. I'm wondering if Florida's going to try to look down low to Young a little bit to establish some kind of post identity.
They got Dieng out on Walker. That had the mismatch, and Patrick Young exploits it going up against the freshman, Bohannon.
Yeah, Bohannon didn't know what to do. Cover the shooter or to cover his man. Made the wrong choice.
A lot of great storylines today. Some wonderful recognition moments ago, Len, by Florida, who have started the game 7 of 11 from the floor.
Well, they're finding out that they can get off the bounce and go in penetration and create some stuff for themselves. And Louisville kind of indecisive. Gorgui Dieng has to stay on Irving Walker right here. And you take a look at Shane Bohannon. He's going to step up and try to take the charge. And when he does that, Patrick Young sneaks right behind him. And again, if Gorgui Dieng stays with Irvin Walker, maybe Shane Bohannon doesn't have to make that decision.
Jared Swapshire has checked in for the first time. He had a couple of first-half threes the other night against Marquette that were terrific in helping the Cardinals. And outside they go, or rather against Michigan State, that was so important for Louisville
Nice
and the
run.
win. And here we got Patrick Young at the other end. In mid-stride and a great feed on the play. Young has started 3 of 3.
And that has to make you excited when you see bigs run the floor and get rewarded at the end of the play.
Well, if you think about it, and you're a big man, you get a couple of points in the paint, you run the floor a couple of times, you're going to score in double figures. And take a look right here. Patrick Young recognizes that he's beating Dieng down the floor.
And if you're Dieng, you can't let this happen. You're one of the best athletes, especially at your position in the country. You've got to run a little bit faster and get back in transition defense.
Well, it may be a fatigue factor. Remember, you guys talked about practice yesterday. Dieng sat out. So maybe he's suffering from some kind of fatigue factor.
40 minutes on Thursday versus Michigan State.
Look at the post up right here. Strong post up. Siva doesn't give it to him.
Siva across the lane. Dieng finds the handle, and over Young finds the 2.
Boy, Siva was lucky that he recovered enough to get Dieng the ball. That was over penetration by Peyton Siva. Sometimes he makes those kind of mental mistakes.
Louisville 7 field goals on 6 assists, and 5 of those assists have been so far out of the hands of Siva.
With Billy Donovan, we talked about walling or downing, forcing him to the baseline.
Rosario's checked in for the Gators for the first time. Young. Shot clock at 1.
And if you're Kenny Boyden, you've got to recognize that.
And tomorrow, travel the world on a new amazing race. Right after 60 minutes, only on CBS.
And not only Kenny Boynton recognizing that, but how about the bench? Even though they're on the other side of the floor, when guys jump up and say something, the shot clock is down to 5. you got to have everybody at least stand up or something to be able to alert your guys.
Smith and Siva, Keurig, Swapshire with it. Zhang down low. That's the Cardinal 5 as we approach 8 to play here in the first half. Walker and Murphy, Boynton. Beal is out there. And Patrick Young comes out now on the perimeter with a flash to defense. That's the Gator 5. Siva. He's got 5 points for the Louisville Cardinals.
Yes, but if you're Billy Donovan, that's what you were going to live with. You don't want Siva getting into the middle. You'll live with the contested jump shots.
Siva just picks up his 3rd personal foul, tied at 19. Wrong.
Offensive efficiency is often measured by how many points you get per 100 possessions. By that measure, Kentucky, Florida, and Syracuse all in the top 5 this season among the Power 6 conferences. And all 3 of those teams have reached the Elite 8. So clearly it is an indicator of how far you can go in the postseason. And right now, 19 apiece, Florida and Louisville in the Elite 8. The 7 versus the 4 seed. Let's send it back to Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, and Len Elmore.
And Irving Walker. Murphy and Beal with Siva defending. And Boynton for the 3.
See what happens when your guards can penetrate and get into the lane and collapse that 2-3 man-to-man zone by Louisville. Drive and dish, kick out. With the shooters that Florida has, makes it nearly impossible to get back.
Florida now 4-7 shooting the 3 ball this afternoon.
Well, as Reggie said, it's the penetration, and I'm really surprised because Louisville was in good position.
Nice flush inside by Shane Bohannon.
Louisville defensively, they're getting broken down in kind of a man-to-man situation.
And Siva reaching in, picks up his 2nd personal foul.
This is exactly what Florida and Billy Donovan wants to do. Bill gets into the lane, and there's those 2 white jerseys around him. Wide open Boynton for the 3, the 4th 3 of this first half for the Gators.
Well, you see both teams, again, coming to weak side help, leaving the basket uncovered on the other end. And that allows the big fellas to get an opportunity close in. But really the penetration of Florida State Florida, I should say, is catching Louisville in rotation, mid-rotation, and they're finding open shooters just like that.
Murphy with a 3.
They averaged 10 on the season already, 5 in this first half for the Gators of Florida.
Center. Get out of his way! Lynn puts it up. Straight away 3. Lynn for the... And the Knicks take the lead! Linsanity continues.
Watch every game on the road to the Final Four live on your computer, your iPhone, iPad, and select Android phones with NCAA March Madness Live. Get more information at ncaa.com/March Madness. Florida's led by as many as 7. Louisville is led by as many as 3 in a first half that has had 3 ties and 4 lead changes.
Oh, got away with the carry there.
Absolutely.
Jang knocked away by Prather and picked up inside by Eric Murphy.
Well, Florida employs their full court pressure. Louisville tries to attack, and they come up with nothing. And look at that pass.
Walker throws it inside to Prather. There's some nice defense thrown inside by Shane Bohannon.
Bohannon really recovered quickly on that.
Good body control. Not to pick up the foul and to change the shot.
Zhang. So he's scoring. He's got 6 points for the Louisville Cardinals. Zhang the other night had 5 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 blocks.
I had a feeling that timeout by Rick Pitino was to tell his team, look, guys, you understand they are a high-volume shooting team. You've got to contest all shots, and yet another 3 for Florida in this first half. They are 6 of 9 from downtown.
Irving Walker hits that, and Russ Smith at the other end.
Boy, the pace is getting a little frenetic right now.
And that favors Florida. Florida wants to get up and down. They have more offense and can afford to take these quick shots.
Beal with the uncontested 2.
Well, the attack against the full court pressure, this time Florida drops back. But you attack against the full court pressure, catching people mid-rotation. And when you swing the ball and the defender comes out late to close, you're getting all the looks that you want.
Florida 70%, Louisville 46%. Again, I think we talked about before the game the defense of both teams, in particular the Cardinals, with the shove inside and a quick foul, and it goes on Prather, who picks up his first personal foul for the Gators.
Well, the way we watched that Louisville-Michigan State game, where both teams really struggled offensively in that first half. But tonight, this has been a little bit more free-flowing, especially for Florida, getting up and down and breaking that Louisville press.
How about Kentucky and Indiana last night?
Yeah, they got up and down, and they were knocking shots down, too. That's entertaining basketball.
Zhang over Young.
Well, you called it, Lynn. When you're open, you wanted to see him shoot a little bit more outside shots.
I said he can do it, but don't expect a lot. I suspect that might be the only one. We'll see.
Walker with a three.
Boy, they are hot.
Well, how about Walker walking into a three?
Again, getting the Louisville defense to rotate, to protect the paint, and that leaves the perimeter shooters wide open. If I'm Louisville, I start to span out now and try to cover guys, get on top of them, make them come inside the three-point line. Right now, they're playing behind them.
Florida is shooting 70%, 7 of 10 from long distance, and now their defense is starting to turn the ball over by Louisville.
Well, you're going to take a look at Florida's opportunities. You see Murphy wide open. You see the late rotating help. And that's what Florida's been able to do. They've been able to penetrate, move the ball, catch them in mid-rotation, and Louisville late to help.
Yeah, remember when Rick Pitino came over to us after practice and was talking about some of the keys for today's game? It was active hands defensively, because the way that Russ Smith, who was on the scout team and was playing Irving Walker, was knocking down threes in practice, he was livid and talking to his guys about being active, getting hands up in the face of some of these shooters.
Well, he's big with deflections. In fact, Zhang the other night had 16 deflections, they counted, as Russ Smith takes it down the middle.
It's a foul on Zhang over the top.
3:45 to play here in the first half. Gorgui Zhang picks up his first personal foul in a game that has seen Florida hitting all kinds of threes.
The NCAA basketball tournament continuing here on ESPN. An Elite Eight matchup just under 4 minutes to go in the first half in Phoenix, Florida. The number 7 seed. They've been an underdog in a couple of their matchups so far, but this one no different, but they're doing quite well. They had the 7-0 lead to start it. They've got a 6-point lead at the moment. Let's go back to Kevin Harlan.
They signed Jai Lucas, who was much more highly regarded after Walker had signed. But he said, I'll compete with anybody, coach. I'll stay. But after a year, Lucas transferred to Texas. Walker stayed, and as Billy told me the other day, I guess that worked out for us pretty good. Walker, the 4th leading scorer, Kevin, in Florida history.
He's a terrific player. When they first met back in that 06 camp, he was only 5'3". He's 5'8" now. You know, we all remember our first coach. Well, his first coach was his mom when he was 5 years old. In the first game, they lost 8-4. Walker had all 4 points.
Well, you know, you can't blame Billy Donovan for not listening initially when a 5'3" guy comes to you and says, I'm going to be the best player on your team. However, can't measure heart just by someone's physical size.
That's why I always tell young kids, you can't get caught up into who's ranked higher than you are. There's so many young players in America that probably don't get a chance to go to a lot of these camps to get rated, and they're late bloomers. Right. Some of these coaches need to take flyers on some of those young players. They could pan out like an Irving Walker.
Russ Smith was a spark off the bench the other night for Louisville against Michigan State. And across the lane, Swapshire, and he makes his journey into the paint. Foul is called. Comes with 3:17 to play here in the first half. Prather picks up his second personal foul for the Gators.
Show you this Louisville offense is run a lot different with Peyton Siva on the bench with those 2 fouls. I think one of the directives from Rick Pitino, put your head down, try to get into the paint, try to collapse that defense by Florida.
Yeah, without Siva, though, there's a lot more ball movement.
Yeah.
Unless Russ Smith decides he met a shot that he likes.
Walker finally hits inside. That is Russ Smith.
Would that be one of those shots that he liked right there, Lynn?
I think so. I think so. Russ Smith is instant offense. I like to say, just add minutes.
That's right.
He's got 4 points. Looking on Walker that time. He gave him a little shove, but then Smith comes right back. And now under 3 to play. And Boynton will put this over where? And that is a 3.
I tell you what, Louisville is persistent in the man-to-man. That's because in the zone, the rotation is coming late. And Florida getting open looks, but it doesn't matter. Even in the man-to-man that time, Florida seems to be almost unconscious from beyond the line.
8 of 11 in this first half already. They averaged 10 a game.
Walker.
That's a piece. Good block by James.
That time he got it going up.
Swapshire meets a couple of defenders down low, and Zhang on top. Swinging it off to Ware. Kevin Ware, the freshman from Bronx, New York, and inside to Zhang. Rebound by Beal, and here he is off to the races. Beal has got 8 points, his first rebound right there. Boynton. We talk about the three-point shooting, but they love to penetrate on this Gator team as well. See real stories of human achievement featured on the Buick Human Highlight Reel at ncaa.com/Buick as Zhang picks up his second personal foul.
Well, because Florida is 8 of 11 from beyond the arc, that's going to open up a lot of those driving alleyways for this Gator team now, because you've got Louisville trying to run and contest all these three-point shots. It's going to open up a lot of those drive lanes, Lynn.
Yeah, all you need is a ball fake. As the closer comes out on you, now you blow by him, and you put all sorts of pressure on that back line of defense. And if your guys are following you, you're able to penetrate and ditch.
So Zhang's on the bench with a couple fouls. Siva has got 2 fouls that he is playing with. He remains on the Patino bench. Under 2 to play in the first half. Swapshire.
What a move there by Swapshire.
One of the unlikeliest sources of offense to a great extent in the Michigan State game. He came out, hit 2 big threes to get Louisville started, and he's picked up kind of where he left off, providing some offense off the bench.
Wilbekin and Prather are in. Joining Beal and Murray.
Do they have enough firepower if they get down enough to get back in this ball game?
The worst, in fact, since he's been in Louisville.
Well, that's why you need volume shooting right at Eric Murphy. And even the help from Prather doesn't materialize. And you need guys coming off the bench to give you a spark. Doesn't need to be much, but just enough as you give your starters a blow, they come back on, and maybe they can pick it up.
Russ Smith picks up his second personal foul. Boynton will sit, and they bring in Rosario from Jersey City, New Jersey, to the Florida Gators, and Prather at the line.
How about the efficiency for Florida? They're shooting over 72% from the field and over 70% from three-point line.
But you know, Louisville has 10 more field goal attempts, and that's what I mean by volume shooting. They both have the same number of field goals.
And another thing that Billy Donovan and the Gators are doing, they're not fouling. They're not putting Louisville on the line.
Smith takes it in with a weaving drive and a foul. By the way, since Siva has gone to the bench with that foul issue, Louisville -7. They've been outscored 17-10 by the Gators. Murphy picks up his first foul there. In the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship continues with regional semifinal action Sunday on ESPN. Coverage starts at 12 noon Eastern as Maryland will battle Texas A&M. For more information on the Women's Championship, go to ncaa.com.
Lady Terps against national champions, defending national champions.
Spoken like a former Terrapin. We have UCLA represented here with Reggie, and Maryland with Lenny. First Louisville free throw, and the second one right there. Here comes Patrick Young. He had an interesting call the other day. He'd had a string of bad practices for the Florida Gators, and he came off and they said, hey, you got to call up in the coach's office. He picked up the phone, said hello, and it was Tony Dungy who was giving him a word of motivation and encouragement. And that connection was made because Dungy's best-selling autobiography was written with an author who lives in Gainesville. Has connections to the program. Wilbekin.
Nothing like friends in high places.
Yeah, absolutely, especially guys like a Super Bowl winning coach. Murphy with the drive, and he works inside into Bohannon.
And that's what I was talking about. Now Louisville has the honor to 3. All it takes is a ball fake to get the defenders raising their center of gravity, and then you blow by them. You put all sorts of pressure on that back line.
And all these touch fouls, you're sending one of the better free throw shooting teams in the nation to the line.
Bohannon, who had 15 in the second half the other night, 4 this afternoon, just picked up his second personal foul. And they bring in Zach Price, another freshman on this Louisville team. He's a freshman from Louisville, Kentucky.
We've got Elisha Justice on the floor as well, Mr. Basketball in the state of Kentucky. So Rick Pitino going deep, trying to find a lineup here.
Time to prepare from one night to the next, and how much these coaches try to give these players in between games.
Well, in this particular case, both coaches know each other so well. So, I mean, obviously, many times their teams are kind of mirror images. What you want to do, though, regardless, is you got to focus on what you do best. With that one day, it's not about the other guys. It's about you executing what you do.
No shot clock, down to 14 seconds. This is Elisha Justice. Picked up by Beal.
Got to get in front.
Good if it goes. He got it away, but it takes us to halftime. Florida led by as many as 10. It was 22-21 Gators when Siva left. Florida since on a 19-12 run as we take it over to Marty Snyder.
Well, over 70% from the field, Billy. Can you imagine a better shooting first half for your team?
Well, we shot the ball well and we moved the ball well, but you know, for as many threes as we made, you think we'd be up by more points, but you know, Louisville has responded. They've gotten a lot of twos and drives. Certainly we probably got help with Siva picking up a couple fouls and breaking
at the half after this message and a word from your local CBS station.
Florida with an 8-point lead over Louisville. 20 minutes to go to decide the first spot in the Final Four. Well, last night, in case you missed it, there was more Sweet 16 action. Looking for spots in regional finals. We'll start off with Xavier versus Baylor. Now, Baylor had an early lead. Brady Heslip, the three-point shooting specialist, actually had 2 driving buckets to help put Baylor up 6-0. And Kenny Breeze slamming it home, answering things for Xavier. Baylor was up 22-4, if you can believe it, in the opening 7 minutes of this game. Just absolutely dominating going end to end. However, it would not continue indefinitely. Quincy Acey, look at this. Half of his career baskets are dunks. You can see why there. Kenny Breeze, though, getting free for a dunk on his own. 12-0 run for Xavier as they got right back into it. You can see it was a much closer game. Picking up in the second half here. Perry Jones the third with a nice lay in there. Quincy Acey doing it again. Hey, why not make sure of it, right? Slamming things home. Back-to-back dunks for him. Baylor an 8-point lead when Perry Jones slams it home for 2. Baylor went up by 10 points. Then Jackson with a 3. Baylor still up double digits. Xavier trying to come back. Justin Martin from the top of the key pulls Xavier within 10. They were within 9 when Martin hits a corner 3. It was a 6-point game. Got interesting. 25 seconds left. Baylor gives up a 3-2 Holloway, but that's as close as it would get. Baylor goes on to win it 75-70, making their second Elite 8 in the last 3 years. Let's take a look at the numbers. As you can see, Baylor did shoot it just a little bit better, 29 of 57 from the field, a little bit better from three-point range as well. The Bears won the battle of the boards. They moved it more effectively with 21 assists to just 10. So they were the first to book a spot in the Elite 8 from last night's action. North Carolina and Ohio went head-to-head. This was tied early on. Stillman White makes a nice pass to John Henson. Remember, White starting for Kendall Marshall, the spectacular point guard who's got the broken wrist. Henson getting out ahead of the field, slams it home. Carolina led by 6 early. TJ Hall. Look at this beautiful drive for Ohio. Next Carolina possession, Harrison Barnes hits the 3. Carolina looked like, okay, they were going to win this one. They were up 22-8. Looked like they were going to run away with it, but Nick Kellogg buries the 3. Kellogg then with the steal, hits ahead to DJ Cooper, wide open for the layup. Oh, in the corner, hits the 3. Ohio is within 6 points. Second half, Walter Offit pulls Ohio within 1. They were still in range. DJ Cooper's 3 keeps it a 1-point game. Kellogg off the drive and kick. It's another three. Ohio had their first lead of the game with about 8.5 to go. 6.5 to go. Off it for three again. Ohio's within one, less than 2 minutes to go. Baltic, the jumper. Ohio had the advantage, less than a minute to go. Bullock, huge three here to put Carolina on top by a deuce. 27 seconds to go. Off it, ties the game with the lay, and he would not hit the free throw in overtime. Bullock, top of the key three, as UNC would give up only 2 points in that overtime to survive against Ohio. 73-65 the final in that one. As you can see, neither team shot the ball very well at all. Ohio had a bunch of threes in the second half that really made things close. Carolina, huge advantage inside. They out-rebounded Ohio 2-1, but they turned it over 23 times without their regular point guard. Well, an historic matchup between Indiana and Kentucky. Indiana beat Kentucky at the buzzer in Bloomington earlier this year. Kentucky looking for revenge. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist sets up Darren Lamb for three. Marcus Teague to Terrence Jones. Kentucky had a 9-point lead. Christian Watford working a nice give and go there. It's the big three to tie the game at 37. Jordan Hulse to Watford for the hook of the bucket. Indiana had a 2-point lead. Teague the missed layup here, the follow by Terrence Jones to tie the score at 43. Second half, Kentucky looking to come out strong. Darius Miller nails the three for an 8-point advantage. Miller, another three, can't leave him alone. Kentucky led by 8. Indiana down 8. Oladipo to Watford for the slam. Indiana not going away. Kentucky, though, with an 11-point lead, adding to it there. Anthony Davis, the follow-up. Davis missed most of the first half, sitting with 2 fouls, but did make an impact in the second half, as Kentucky goes on to win it 102 to 90 in one of the highest scoring games in NCAA tournament history. Kentucky makes 5 of their 10 3-point attempts. Look how often they got to the free throw line. They took 37 free throws to just 17 for IU, and the Wildcats made 35 of them. And the final game of the night, the Wolfpack from NC State taking on Kansas. Kansas the favorite in this one. Head coach Bill Selfstein hasn't really played great in the tournament yet. They didn't last night either. NC State had the early lead. C.J. Williams puts NC State up 9 early. Thomas Robinson trying to rally Kansas. Does so. Robinson again inside, misses the layup. Put back from Relaford plus the foul. Kansas was within 2. Brown inside, laying things in. NC State down by 1. Elijah Johnson, the 3. Take that, that's Brown for 3. Elijah Johnson here, getting it inside. Now Thomas Robinson could be National Player of the Year, trying to pull things out for Kansas. Then the steal, Robinson up ahead. Johnson lays it in. 8-point Jayhawk lead. Tyshawn Taylor sends it for Jeff Withey. Jayhawks led it by double digits. And then again with the baseline jump hook from Robinson. NC State, though, trying to rally. C.J. Williams, big night. A 3 there. Pulls NC State back within 6. Williams in transition. This time sends it home. NC State was within 1. However, off an inbound in the final seconds, Johnson touched to the basket to lay it in and help pull it out for the Jayhawks, who hold on to win 60-57. And it's another poor shooting night there for the Jayhawks, just 24 of 64, though it was better than NC State. Big problem from 3-point range for the Jayhawks. They made just 1 of 14 from distance. Big problem there. 11 blocks, 10 of them by 7-foot center Jeff Withey, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, 3rd most in tournament history with those 10 blocks by Withey. So those teams booked spots in the Elite 8, and they will get underway for spots in the Final 4 when they match up tomorrow. At the moment, it's Florida with an 8-point lead over Louisville at halftime in Phoenix. And welcome back to ESPN's continuing coverage of the 2012 Men's Basketball Tournament. The West Region Final underway, one half of the books, an 8-point lead for Florida over Louisville. The winner goes to the Final Four in New Orleans. That's where every team still in the field still has its sights set down to the Superdome. Let's look at our halftime statistics. As you can see, Florida shooting the ball very well from the field, 14 of 21. Even better from three-point range. They've made 8 of 11. It's been a scalding shooting performance for them, whereas Louisville shooting well under 50% for the game. Louisville hasn't turned the ball over, and that is certainly good news for them, but they have not been able to stop the hot shooting three-point barrage of the Gators. Take a break here on ESPN and come back with more as we head for the start of the second half of this Elite Eight matchup, Louisville and Florida. Let's go back to the first half highlights where the Gators got up 7-0 early, but this hustle play sparked by Jace Mahan, and then look at the sharing. Siva and Jang getting it back and forth. Louisville got on the board. They then went on an 8-0 run as Siva drains the three there. Currick a three here, and next thing you know, Louisville's on top. A little back and forth for a bit, though. Florida responded. Eric Murphy in the corner. 4-3 ties the game at 10. Gators would go into a 2-point lead, then Siva finding Currick, spotting up for three. Cardinals were up one. Next possession, Irving Walker to Bradley Beal. One of 8 threes hit by the Gators. Gators had a 2-point lead. This time, Patrick Young gets the feed from Walker to put the Gators up 4. On the other end, Chase Bohannon slams home the miss. Cardinals within one, under 6 minutes to go. This is where the Gators got it going. Finishing the half on a 19-8 run. Walker on top, another three. Boynton sticks a three from Beal. Florida would push its lead to 41-33 at halftime. Another look at those halftime numbers. As you can see, Florida really making the most out of their three-point attempts. They've hit 8 of 11. Remember, Billy Donovan learned to do the three-point wide-open offense from Rick Pitino, now the coach of the Louisville Cardinals. And both those coaches have employed this wide-open, free-flowing, and long three-point shooting offenses throughout both of their coaching careers. Right now, it's Donovan who's having more success. Let's take a look at the defensive dichotomy over the last 2 games where they held Michigan State for 44 points. And now they've given up 41.5 to Florida. So something's got to give here for the Cardinals, or they won't be going back to the Final Four. Ready to start the second half with Florida ball. Let's get it back to Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, and Len Elmore.
Siva, of course, starting the second half for the Cardinals with 2 fouls. Here is Beal. Right off the bat, knocks it in. He's got 10 points. When Siva left with his second foul, Florida extended their lead to 10. And that was a big part of what they did in that first half. And here is the aforementioned Siva.
He's got to be careful not to get himself too far under the basket. Not too much he can do with that. Did get it to Cork that time, but over penetration has been a problem.
You know, Rick Pitino was showing Peyton Siva those Steve Nash tapes, and Steve Nash likes to get underneath that basket and continue dribbling out to that weak side. That's exactly what Peyton Siva is going to have to do.
Here is Young inside on Jang. Played him well, gets the rebound. That's the 4th for him.
But you see no fear despite Jang's reputation to block shots.
That's a 3-point hit from Chris Smith. And he's got his first points this afternoon.
Give Florida a little bit of dose of their own medicine in transition. Try to get the ball up early and get some early looks.
Now, I mentioned no fear in going after Gorgie Jang. Florida's had a little bit of practice against great shot blockers as they played Kentucky and Anthony Davis, so they know what it takes. Nice job by Jang to step in there.
Well, we told you before the game that it's a...
Donovan with back-to-back titles. In this day and age, that is a tremendous accomplishment.
Well, think about the team he had. Corey Brewer and
wow. What speed by Siva.
Joakim Noah.
Now, I talked about over penetration, but this is a nice job. Siva wending his way through the defense gets himself in position to score, and Patrick Young comes behind him and fouls him. But it's that kind of penetration that puts pressure on Florida.
But Lynn, this is what Patrick Young has to do on that. He can't allow Siva to split him. You got to form that wall there and let Siva string you out. But when you split that double team and get into the teeth of the defense, he's very difficult to handle.
First personal foul. Yeah, they were talking about that at practice yesterday. Called it fanning out, kind of funneling to the side. Louisville's been successful with points off turnovers this afternoon. 9-0 in that category. Walker, point. And Beal. Screen by Young. Defense by Chris Smith. Shot clock is down to 3.
And they got to stand up and let him know.
And the rebound is collected by Kyle Kierick. His first. Siva the other way with his great acceleration. Out to Kierick for 3. Nice rebound by Bohannon.
Boy, Shane Bohannon just held his ground. When you're a good offensive rebounder, you know.
A 7-0 run.
Look at our tournament summary. Big East is the only conference that's had one Elite Eight team every year since 2002. 7 of the teams to reach the Elite Eight are former national champions. Baylor, the only school that's never won one, and finally had an overtime game. Took the Sweet 16 to get it. UNC in Ohio last night. Let's send you back out to Kevin Harlan.
It's heavyweight time. You got the heavyweight universities going after one another in college basketball.
Beal and Murphy.
They got him for a hold.
Great anticipation there by Peyton Siva, overplaying Boynton on the weak side, and Murphy was caught in the middle of the throw it or go back door.
Murphy picks up his second personal foul.
Yeah, he picked it up by grabbing Siva, trying to keep him from getting out in transition, which is not a bad foul.
Kierick, the defense of Beal astray. He tripped as he was going around the screen. And Walker will race it the other way for the Florida Gators.
If you're Kierick, you got to be encouraged by your last 2 shots as Walker knocks down a long 2. His last 2 shots by Kierick have been in and out. You got to continue to be aggressive, young man.
And you heard Rick Pitino at the beginning of the half talking about the confidence.
But there's grabbing the loose ball with the foul at 16:36. Shove inside.
Going back to Rick Pitino's comment about Florida's confidence, you can see it in the guards right now. Just off the dribble, step back shots, being able to shoot the 3 in transition. They got no hesitation.
Kierick with his second.
Let's see if Swapshire can be as aggressive and active on that offensive glass as Bohannon.
Beal to Boynton. To Beal. Play a lot of horse shooting with his mom. The shooting game horse in his driveway. It's paid off.
Well, he didn't care. He just hung in the air as far as Gorgie Jang was concerned. He didn't realize where he was and didn't really care.
Gorgie Jang inside on Young. And Young gobbles up the loose ball.
Suddenly a lid on the Louisville basket.
Young takes it, and that's an offensive foul. That's the second on Patrick Young.
How about a meeting at the summit here? Freshman Bradley Beal going against Jang, just hanging in the air using that athleticism. Nice move there by the Super Frost.
Just under 16 minutes to go. The winner of this game is the first to book their trip to New Orleans for the Final Four. Throughout much of this contest, it has been Florida with the upper hand over Louisville. Florida, the 7 seed, looking to buck the odds and get all the way to New Orleans. Let's send it back to Kevin Harlan.
How to shoot ball.
Everybody needs a mom. You know, his mom, when Beal was struggling with his shot early this season, came and offered some advice. As Siva takes it in, rebound by Murphy. So they're even using mom now to help with his stroke.
Did you see Mom's form, though?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Good pronation.
I'm more impressed by Mom's fingernail polish. I think that's what Bradley Beal needs.
Beal, the highest rated recall.
The Gator colors going.
Foul called inside. America's favorite geeks are back with a new Big Bang Theory. It comes your way Thursday only on CBS as Bohannon picks up his 3rd personal foul for Louisville.
Well, that's key because Shane Bohannon, outstanding offensive rebounder. Louisville not exactly hot from the field. Rebounding is important.
Beal and Boynton. Prather is out there. Walker and Murphy. That's the Gator 5.
Well, that was a very generous 5-second count out of bounds there by the official.
Boynton and Jang got a hand on it. And they're going to tag him at the 15-11 mark to play here in the second half, the 3rd on Gorgui Dieng.
Now, he was called for a block. Didn't see a whole lot of body contact on the way to the basket. Maybe it's right. Actually, I don't even know where the block came from. You know, when it's a blocking foul, it means your body has impeded the progress of the penetrator. And I didn't see a whole lot of that.
A couple weeks ago at a media session at the Southeastern Conference Tournament, someone asked Billy Donovan if he felt the season was slipping away, and they regrouped in that tournament. And the same probably can be said of Louisville. About a month ago, who would have thought they would be in this position? They won 4 games in 4 days at the Big East, captured that, and here they are in the Elite 8. And inside Bohannon, playing with those 3 fouls, tipped up and in. Siva gets it for the Cardinals. He's got 9.
Again, all led by the penetration of Siva. If you're Billy Donovan, that's one thing that you were focusing in on practice yesterday, keeping number 3 in white out of the paint.
And Siva's got surprising lift.
Murphy with the reverse inside.
Murphy did a nice job of using the basket to shield.
Chris Smith on the fly, the brother of the New York Knicks, J.R. Smith.
Again, if you get into a track meet, I don't know if the Cardinals have enough offense to stay with Florida.
This is Boynton for 3. Rebound clutched onto by Chris Smith. Irving Walker moments ago taking a breather in his place. Wilbekin in the game for the Gators, and here comes Chris Smith again.
They were making those 3-point shots in the first half, Florida was.
Over Boynton, Chris Smith.
Back-to-back buckets here by Chris Smith, starting to heat up here.
Yeah, Chris Smith is streaky, but he can be explosive.
Timeout. The Cardinals have chiseled their way back in. The Gators want to talk it over. Final 8 teams. First piece of the Final 4 puzzle will be decided beginning here in Phoenix. Coming up next on CBS, it'll be Syracuse and Ohio State from Boston. Louisville 15 more shot attempts than Florida this afternoon.
And they've needed them as well because they haven't been shooting with the accuracy Florida has. But the good thing for Louisville, they haven't turned it over all that much, giving Florida extra opportunities. There's a goaltender.
Another one.
Jang just has been a second late. We thought about all the timing in that big win that they had on Thursday, and that ball is definitely on the backboard there. A good call there by the official.
But you see, not afraid to take Jang one-on-one and attack him down low off the switches. And as I said before, they've had a lot of practice going against probably the best shot blocker in the nation in Anthony Davis from Kentucky.
Siva taking a breather. They've got Russ Smith in there now joining Chris Smith in a spin move, and Bohannon is going to pick it up. That is number 4.
And that is huge for Rick Pitino and the Cardinals. Your best offensive rebounder, an active guy down low, has picked up his 4th. Now you're asking Jared Swapshire to come in and try to be that guy that's the head of the snake on that press as well.
Well, we saw Bohannon when he received, he turned and faced, but he kind of gave away where he was going. Prather did a nice job of taking that path away. But lowering the shoulder in that kind of situation will ultimately always draw out offensive fouls. You make contact.
Walker comes in for Boynton. Picked up by Prather. Shot clock at 12. Walker off the fingertips, ricocheting out of bounds. Beal could not find the handle.
If you're Rick Pitino and Louisville, you've got to have a sustained run here. You've been playing catch up for most of today. But every time you get to within 4, 5, or 6, something else happens.
Well, you saw the turnover situation. That's also been a saving grace for Louisville. Florida turning it over 10 times. Louisville's got 9 points.
3 to fire. Jang. Rebound by Patrick Young. He's got 4. Walker.
Oh, my.
Patrick Young with a sledgehammer.
I didn't know where that ball was going initially.
Walker's got 6 assists.
Skywalker.
None prettier than this. The finish by Young.
Oh my goodness.
Sort of TV's #1 new drama, Person of Interest, only on CBS. Person of interest here, Patrick Young.
Absolutely, and again, just shows you what the dunk can do. Yeah, Rick Pitino had to talk about it. They put him at an 8-point deficit, but that dunk got everybody involved. Had Florida jumping off the bench. That is one of those kind of momentum changers.
Yeah, but that's a pretty good timeout by Rick Pitino, because you don't want to get the fans even more into it. You kind of quiet them down so they can sit down, because everyone here was standing up.
But the spectacular dunk precipitated all of that, even though it's just 2 points.
Wilbekin picks up his first personal foul. Siva back in, with Steven in the plus-minus for him. +3 when he's in. When he's out, Louisville -11. Swapshire. Beal the rebound. And a shove by Kirik. His third foul.
We talk about Eric Murphy and his ability, because of that stretch floor, to move out to that three-point line, but I've been impressed tonight by him putting the ball on the
mobility. Has created some issues for Louisville.
Just crossing the 12-minute mark here in the second half. Boynton still on the bench. Wilbekin in his stead. Beal weaving. Murphy. Nice move by Beal to get free. Missing the triple. Picked up by Russ Smith. He'll take it the length and drive inside with a foul.
I like it. He's got to realize, though, it was like 1-on-3 on that drive, but he is attacking.
Walker picks up his first personal foul. See some of the numbers and words on the resume of Rick Pitino. He has great perspective, of course. Talked to his team before the Michigan State game on Thursday about his Providence team 25 years ago with the point guard Billy Donovan. Surprising all on the trip to the Final Four. The teacher and the pupil theme continues with these two great coaches, our Infinity Coaches Spotlight.
I will say this, you don't want to allow your teacher to continue to hang around here. This is a guy that has so many tricks up his sleeves. If you're Billy Donovan, you shot the ball great from 3 and 2. You've got rebounding them. You've gotten 2 of their players in foul trouble, and Bohannon and Jang, but yet you're only up by 7.
And extra opportunities. They may not be shooting the ball as well as Florida, but they're getting a volume scoring, and that could make a difference down the stretch.
Mismatch Beal against Yang. Here comes Wilbekin taking it in, and a foul called by the outside official.
Yeah, it looked like Carl Hess, the official underneath, may look like he was going to call a travel, and that's a good call there by Doug Sermons, who said the foul happened first before the travel.
And Siva picks up his third. You can see the foul issues right now for Louisville. Beal. Jang comes out on him again.
And this is kind of a mismatch. Bradley Beal doesn't want to take advantage of it. At least not yet. Nope.
Well, they're going to switch all ball screens with Eric Murphy.
That's another foul. Siva, number 4.
Wow. Now you've got Bohannon with 4. You've got Siva with 4. Jang with 3.
Boy, that was an inadvertent trip.
Are we talking about a technical foul here too?
Technical foul on Rick Pitino. He had been given a warning a bit earlier in the game, and now they tee him up. Siva's so important for Louisville.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's not only their floor leader, he's terrific defensive pressure at the point of the ball. And you take a look right here, 2 of the most important cogs in extreme foul trouble.
Pitino and Siva having a very interesting dialogue on the sideline.
I think that was a monologue, man. I don't think
Yeah,
Siva
maybe you're
gonna
right.
get a word in edgewise on that one.
Siva staying in the game.
What a gamble here.
We just saw Irving Walker knock down 2 free throws. He's got 10 for the contest.
Just got under 11 minutes left in this contest. Arguably your best player in Peyton Siva has just picked up his 4th foul. This is a good move by Billy Donovan on the other side. You get a chance to rest Bradley Beal. You're up 9 with Walker at the free throw line, a chance to take this lead to double digits.
Walker gets it. Get the latest gear for your team at the official store of the NCAA. Find great hoops merchandise at ncaa.com/shop. Florida has just equaled their biggest lead today of 10.
Looks like Coach Pitino is coming back with Shane Bohannon.
And he's got to really locate and be careful.
And not only offensive rebounds, watch one of these Florida guards just driving right into him down low. These officials have been very quick on that whistle with these guards penetrating into the paint area.
Young comes in. Gilligan will check out for the Gators, who are on an 8-1 run right now over Louisville. Russ Smith. Good shot. Boy, he is an explosive and maybe even more importantly, a fearless player for Louisville.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw him very careful, just taking what the defense gave him on the mid-range shot.
Rick Pitino says he's their best one-on-one player. Jang comes out now, guarding the little 5'8" guard.
So now what does Walker want to do? Does he want to take Jang off the dribble?
Jang's got to stay low. Can't raise up and allow the little fellow to get behind him, around him.
And Bohannon had to kind of back off right there a little bit as Murphy came swirling in.
Absolutely. That's good decision making by Walker that time. He was tempted to try to take Jang off the bounce.
Timeout Louisville. Murphy's got 14 points, 7 rebounds, and the Gators up 60-49. That's a pretty important story right now, the foul story in this game for the Cardinals and Coach Rick Pitino.
Well, if you're Pitino, I think you're going to have to show a little bit more trust in Jared Swapshire or Wayne Blackshear. You're going to need that size down low to go against Murphy and Young for Florida.
Siva out. Russ Smith into Young. He gets it to go again, and a foul. Good looking slashing move by Russ Smith.
And you talked about the fear factor. There is none in the mind of this young man. Straight from the playgrounds of Queens, New York, and the court of Archbishop Malloy. And Russ Smith knows how to take the bumps and finish.
So now Smith with 11 off the bench. Young picks up his 3rd personal foul for the Gators. Archbishop Malloy, that's the same school as one Kenny the Jet Smith. Full court pressure. Boy, Florida worked on this for most of their 90-minute closed practice yesterday here in the arena in downtown Phoenix.
The year, that's all Rick Pitino would do for a full practice, is just work on the press. Something that they always have and can lean on.
Here's Rosario. Shot clock is down to 3. Young, Murphy, Boynton, good if it goes. Rebound inside Bohannon, he's got 6.
I will stress they were 8 of 11 at halftime from three-point line. Now they're only 8 of 16, have not made a 3 in this second half. The Florida Gators.
Rosario on the play, count it.
We are seeing some big plays from the guards of both of these teams. It was Russ Smith at one end, and now it's Mark Rosario at the other. Takes the contact, and look at his eyes. See, his eyes are right at the rim, focusing on that backboard.
Reggie, you tell me, as an offensive machine in your day, man, driving that way, getting to the baseline and still able to bank it off the glass, is that planned?
Muscle memory, baby. Muscle memory.
Carrick picks up his 4th foul. Rosario at the line, went to St. Anthony's in New Jersey, the mythical high school national champion in 07-08, a McDonald's All-American. He went to Rutgers, he transfers, and now he's playing for the Gators. Siva was flying in, picked up by Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy got a piece of that good defense. Didn't even have to leave his feet. Steven's got to be careful on trying not to do too much. You know, his value is not necessarily scoring, but making his teammates better.
Murphy.
Good
Yeah,
read.
that was. Keurig knocked it away. Smith to Bohannon. And that is a foul.
And interesting, Chris Smith is telling Bohannon, why don't you just lay it up? You see,
Murphy
Looks
picks
pretty.
up his third personal foul. Does Eric Murphy of the Gators. At the free throw line is Shane Bohannon, the freshman from Cincinnati, who's played very well for the Cardinals in this postseason stretch. Mark Harmon stars in a new NCIS. It's Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, only on CBS. Bohannon, who was growing up in Cincinnati, his mom didn't like the environment he was growing up in, so they moved him to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that's where he finished his high school.
made a lot of the Cincinnati Bearcat fans unhappy.
A guy that had 3 triple-doubles while in high school. And while he's at Louisville, being measured during their physical, he has the biggest calves ever measured. Patrick Young with a nice finish down low. Ever measured in Louisville Cardinal history. If you look at those calves, those are monstrous.
Young's got 10, and he's got 5 rebounds for the Gators. Bohannon free to fire with a 3. Shane Bohannon with 11.
Maybe it's those calves that allow him to get that lift on that jump shot right there. This is the guy that can do a little bit of everything.
Well, it's surprising because he came into this tournament shooting just 16% from beyond the arc.
We saw Jane knock down his first 3 against Michigan State, and now Bohannon knocking down 3s. It's something that's a prerequisite if you're going to play for Rick Pitino. He's got to be a scoring threat from beyond the arc.
Point.
Yeah, they got a mismatch. Steven Murphy down low. Now Kurt gets back, but they missed that.
Irving Walker. Rebound by Beal, an offensive board. That's the 4th collected by Bradley Beal.
Can't be surprised at that. The best rebounding guard in the SEC. This is as a freshman, ladies and gentlemen.
Which allows Donovan to play those 3 guards.
Yeah, Bradley Beal is one of those guys, big and strong, can play 3 positions.
Yeah.
Shot clock again going down to double figures at 10. Now at 9, they work it in, out of bounds. And we'll take a break. 6:52 to play. Big game from Patrick Young, who inside has got 10 points.
Well, I want to remind you that coming up next, about 45 minutes from now, the tip-off between Ohio State and Syracuse in the East Region Final, right here on ESPN. One more spot in the Final Four to be booked today. And don't miss it. Just keep it here. Following the Gators and the Cardinals, we still have plenty of time to play. 6:52 left on the clock. So a lot of NCAA men's basketball championship tournament action concluding today, and spots for New Orleans will be booked. Florida right now with an 8-point lead over Louisville. Time is of the essence here for the Cardinals. Listen back to Kevin Harlan.
Nice little move inside for his 13th point. It's a 6-point game.
Tell you what, he is a load down low with that rump shaker.
People keep calling for backcourt, but Russ Smith has tipped it back there.
He's got 3.
Very aggressive defensively. He kept tipping it in the backcourt. Walker keeps going back. People are asking for it. You see
There's
Carl
the foul
Hess
right there.
signaling
There's the foul
the
right there.
deflection.
It's a good call. That's a good call, but that's pretty good pressure there by Russ Smith, who's, if the Cardinals down 6, need a little bit of a lift. And you were talking, Lynn, about can their defense create some offense for them, and that's one way you do that is by ball pressure.
Well, they just dodged one right there. The 82% free throw shooter just missed the first one.
Irving Walker. All-time University of Florida assist leader and missing 2 at the stripe.
Yeah, that's the dodging a big one by Louisville. But they got to remember, they've got to be able to find ways to get easy buckets.
Russ Smith lost the ball. Kept it alive. Bohannon.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better look if you're Rick Pitino in Louisville.
Yeah, but you fumbled it and kind of got you out of rhythm a little bit.
There's just no way you need that shot at that particular time.
Lockyer grabbed it. Here comes Siva. Snaps it outside. Russ Smith with a three. A big-time hit. Louisville to within 3.
That's a 6-point turnaround. 6-point turnaround. You got a rush shot at one end by Irving Walker and Smith at the other end with the dagger to cut this lead to 3.
8-0 Cardinal run.
Looked like he traveled.
He sure did. Beal travels with the ball.
And this is what I mean. Creating offensive opportunities off of the D. You take a look at Siva, excellent penetration. That offensive possession that was more methodical as Siva penetrated. He might have fumbled a little bit, but he still created time for Russ Smith.
Think about the last 3 possessions for Florida. 2 missed free throws by Walker, a forced long 3 by Walker, and then the walk by Beal.
And the reason why Florida got that big lead, that 8-point lead in the first half, was knocking down 3s. Right now, they're 0 of 6 in this half.
Kierick. Russ Smith with it. 11 points on Thursday. On the fly, and down it goes. Russ Smith off the bench, 17 points. He had 17 in the round of 32 against New Mexico.
Another 2 points off of turnovers.
What did we talk about? You don't want the teacher to hang around here because he can hand out detention.
Beal flies in. Jang comes up with the loose ball. 5 rebounds for him. Siva.
Got to be smart with it. That's right, run your stuff. You're down 1.
10-0 run by the Cardinals. Keeping that dribble alive. Screen by Zhang into Young. And the hustle of Beal claims the ball. 5 rebounds for him. Florida has not scored in the last 4+ minutes.
And they're not running their offense. These are quick shots.
Well, shoved down the play. Foul called. 3:58 when we come back to Phoenix.
Well, on that play right there, Peyton Siva, the star point guard for the Louisville Cardinals, has fouled out with 9 points and 8 assists. And that will be a big loss for Louisville as they try to continue their comeback. Right now riding a 10-0 run, but still down by 1. 3:58 to go. And Patrick Young at the free throw line for the Gators, looking to add to the lead. Let's go to Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, and Len Elmore.
At the free throw line is Patrick Young, the SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year. This year, enjoy more madness with Coke Zero. Text makeover to 2653 for a chance to upgrade that TV room with an ultimate entertainment system.
I'll tell you what, though, losing Siva obviously gives Louisville a different look. And Russ Smith is going to be offense first. And we talked about Siva's numbers, 8 assists, 1 turnover. That's his value. It wasn't Siva scoring, it was setting everybody else up. Whether Russ Smith can do the same thing remains to be seen, but he's going to look shot first.
Yeah, he's more of a scorer first, but be careful looking for Kyle Kierick. He's been real quiet in the second half.
Kierick playing with 4 fouls. Here comes Smith. Jang the screen. 3 defenders around Russ Smith, who gets the loose ball.
Looks like he got fouled.
Out of bounds off Florida.
Talking about the Louisville in this scoring run in the second half. Bohannon with those 4 fouls, and then Russ Smith, who's been talking about bringing them back all afternoon.
The 3-guard lineup for Florida. Down low, Young, along with Eric Murphy, who's had a good night afternoon scoring for this Gator team. Russ Smith. Zhang trying to lead the way. Bohannon shoved. Count it. What a good-looking shot. A 12-1 run. Louisville has had it in a 15-point performance for Bohannon.
I think those calves helped him on that one, Reg. Strength to be able to get that shot up.
Our first tie since 15-15. Walker, Murphy.
Walker was deterred by James' presence right there. Thought he had a layup, and number 10 loomed over him.
Pointing into Smith.
Wow.
What a play there by Kenny Boynton, especially with Jane coming over from the weak side. How about the presence of mind to concentrate on the shot with the shot blocker rotating over?
Boynton with 12, now defending Smith on the other end. The bang into Murphy, the loose ball, and the Louisville turnover. "13 turnovers for the Gators, just 5 for the Cardinals this afternoon, and approaching 2 to play."
And I like for Beal to come off the screen and roll. He's going to get a switch and a mismatch. He can be real aggressive offensively.
Into Keurig. Good block. Picked up by Smith. Chris Smith and Russ Smith, and a timeout taken by the Cardinals.
Well, we talk about Gorgie Jang in the middle. Hasn't had too many opportunities. But you take a look at Kenny Boynton right there, an opportunity for Jang. And he gets this one. Not as high off the glass.
Louisville is out of timeouts. Rick Pitino just called his final timeout of the game. Florida, on the other hand, only 1 field goal in the last 6.5 minutes. We've got 1:56 to play in regulation.
Well, right now, Louisville has to inbound the ball. Got to keep the floor spread. Look for some penetration. Russ Smith, very potent offensive player, but he also can pass the ball. You got Keurig setting up from beyond the arc. You got Chris Smith that can knock down threes, but Shane Bohannon could be a difference maker.
Yeah, I want them to get the ball down low to Shane Bohannon. Russ Smith has kind of rushed his shot. His last 2 or 3 shots down low. I really think Shane Bohannon, the freshman, can score down low against whoever's guarding him on Florida's team.
And right now they're set up for Chris Smith to kind of inbound it, but here's Russ Smith with the ball.
Winner here goes to the Final Four. That'll be the first piece of the puzzle.
Why?
A foul on Florida,
Why?
and it goes on Walker.
Why?
Walker picks up his second personal foul.
Walker's just got to follow him instead of bumping him. There's the hold right there. Just follow him around the screens.
And that's a good call. You're holding.
Chris Smith at the line. First trip to the foul stripe this afternoon here in Phoenix.
Saw how important free throws were down the stretch of that North Carolina-Ohio game. I believe if that young man makes that free throw on that and one to put them up 1, they win that ball game. You got to concentrate when you're going to the free throw line.
Louisville's a team 9 of 10, now 9 of 11 from the line. And the Gators are nursing a 1-point lead. Keurig is on Beal. Screen by Young. Switch on defense. Boynton. Russ Smith on him. Russ Smith with the rebound.
Good defense. Louisville forces an unbalanced shot, and they get another possession. This is where defense wins championships.
Smith and Bohannon. Murphy defending. Bohannon for the lead. He puts it in. 1:02 to play.
He can score against anyone on the Florida Gator team.
And they spread the floor nicely on that one. Gave him room to work.
If you're Rick Pitino, you got to recognize that.
First Cardinal lead since 13-12 in the first half. Rejected by Zhang. That's his second. Here comes Walker. A 17-footer. Rebound by Russ Smith.
You don't need to foul here.
A 15-3 run by Louisville.
High pick and roll. 1-4 situation. Let Russ Smith go to work.
About a 6-point difference between the shot clock and the game clock. 6-second difference.
Intercepted by Beal. And a treble on Florida with 17.8 to play.
Now you got a foul.
Timeout Gators.
Huge right here. Watch the feet.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
What a comeback by the Cards. Gators led at 65-54 with about 8:16 left. Louisville's gone on a 15-3 run. Just one Florida field goal in the last 8 minutes of this game.
It's all about defense right now. As Louisville has forced some shots. Jang has blocked some shots.
Well, for Louisville, it's going to be all about free throws now. Going to that stripe with a routine.
That's a foul. Boynton will pick it up. You just saw Peyton Sieve on the bench moments ago, fouling out a couple minutes ago. Boynton picks up his second personal foul.
Well, it all begins with getting your best free throw shooter out there on the line. Kyle Kurek, 80%. Russ Smith, 76%.
I think that's why Elijah Justice was on the floor as well for Louisville.
Russ Smith 4 of 5 from the line this afternoon.
It's still a one-possession game if he knocks this down.
Gators have a timeout, and they have just burned it. 16.7. Who will go to the Final Four? .7 in regulation. Final timeout just taken by Billy Donovan of Florida.
And it's a good call. Rather than take possession of the ball and remaining timeout and come up against the defense that he might have to call timeout again and then allow Louisville to set up the D, he right now wants to be able to go against a defense and not able to be set. Talk about their strategy in the huddle.
And Florida 0 of 6 in this half from beyond the arc. 8 of 11 into that first half. Driving kick. We have opportunities to do that.
Russ Smith has been terrific off the bench. 18 points, 19 points for the Cardinals.
All right, now the question is, do you foul Florida, not allow them to get it up beyond the arc, and they only get 2 shots?
Beal for the lead. Missing the 3, rebounded. Boynton for the lead. Picked up. Blackshear has it, 2.8 to play.
And it comes up roses for them.
And what did I tell you about allowing the teacher to hang around? Rick Pitino has tricks up his sleeves, and it was the defensive effort that allowed them to get back in this ball game.
Those 3 attempts were to tie it because of the free throw taken. Now Blackshear is at the line, 3-point game. The 2 missed attempts to tie.
Yeah, I think the danger in trying to foul, even when you're up 3 in the last possession, or at least what you think is the last possession, you never know when they're going to hoist it up, and you wind up fouling them, and they wind up getting 3 free throws.
Blackshear at the line, missing. Still the 3-point game, 2.8 to play.
Remember, no timeouts for either team.
Well, you would have liked to seen Wayne Blackshear make that first one and then purposely miss the second one with no timeout for Florida.
Well, you make this one, and it's a 2-possession ball game.
And there it is, the lead at 4. No timeouts. 72-68, Louisville coming back from 11 down. The 3, and Louisville has come back from behind. They will go to the Final Four. Looks the record for Rick Pitino over his former point guard at Providence and protege Billy Donovan. So Louisville will advance, and they will take on the winner of Kentucky and Baylor in New Orleans next Saturday as part of the Final Four. What a Phoenix. Russ Smith with a huge performance off the bench, 19 points. As Louisville has beaten Florida 72-68. Coming up next, we'll send you to our Capital One NCAA CBS Sports Desk after these messages.
An incredible finish for Louisville. They booked the first ticket to the Final Four. Much more to come on ESPN. Well, a game that was full of highlights that start from the beginning after getting down 7-0. Louisville with a defensive play, then the great sharing. Deng Siva Deng for the finish. It was all part of an 8-0 run that Louisville answered with to take an early lead. Kurek, a 3 from the corner. Cardinals had the advantage then. Irving Walker to Bradley Beal. He had a 3 of his own. Walker to Patrick Young with the slam. Gators by 4. What a game Shane Bohannon has had. Here following up the miss to slam at home, keeping the Cardinals close. Gators though, boy, they were executing from 3-point range. Walker for 3. Boynton for 3. 8 for 11 from 3-point range for Florida, and they led by 8 at halftime. Second half, step back jumper for Walker. Florida kept the lead. Chris Smith takes it against 3 defenders. For the Cardinals, we're still down 6. Next Louisville possession, Smith. The jumper. Cardinals staying within striking distance. Gators led it by 8 after that beautiful alley-oop. Mike Rosario, though, hits it plus the foul. Gators were up by 11. It was 60-49. This thing was going to be over, right? They were up 11 at 65-54 as well. Then the comeback just kept on going. Bohannon ties it. Inside 3 minutes to go. Boynton puts Florida up. Bohannon, the turnaround in the lane for the 1-point lead for Louisville. Chance to tie with a 3 there. No. Offensive rebound. Another 3 for Boynton. It could have tied that off the mark. 1 free throw later. And Louisville had completed the comeback 72-68, coming from 11 down in the final minutes to defeat Florida. Florida 8 for 11 from three-point range in the first half, 0 for 9 in the second half as the Cardinals come roaring back to win it. They end the game on an 18-3 run. And needless to say, there was euphoria in the postgame afterwards. Reggie Miller talked with Rick Pitino and the Louisville team.
Coach, unbelievable finish. Last 8 minutes, an 18-3 run that all started at the defensive end for you.
Well, Reg, we've been playing a matchup zone all year. Couldn't play it against them. They're the first team to beat it. They just shot the lights out. They attacked it great. Billy Donovan had an awesome plan. Outside of my 6 children being born, this is the happiest day of my life.
Florida was 8 for 11 from threes in the first half. They were 0 of 7 in the second half. What did you tell your team at halftime?
We played man-to-man. We switched everything. Then they started hurting us with the pick and rolls with the 5-man. So when he ran out, we ran Shane out on him instead of the 5, then kept him inside. And we got a few turnovers and missed shots because of it.
You talked about how proud you are of your team this moment. It's got to be a little bit bittersweet. Billy Donovan.
It is, because they outplayed us. You know, but the last 8 minutes won the game. The one thing about these guys, there's zero quitting them. Peyton fouls out. Oh, we're in foul trouble. We get I'm yelling to Peyton Sieville, why would you foul him? And the referee gives me a technical. I'm yelling at my own player. But it was awesome. So proud of these guys. I told them they'll never, ever forget if they win this game for the rest of their life. Now, I have a 25th reunion. You guys have to promise me one thing. You got to promise me one thing, Russ. You'll get me out of the nursing home.
Congratulations.
Cut down the nets,
The last words from Rick Pitino there. Cut down the nets, guys. That's right. They are region champions from the West. Louisville just coming from behind. They were down 11 points in the final 5.5 minutes. Were able to roll all the way back and win it by 4 in the end. Rick Pitino takes his team to the Final Four for the 6th time all-time as a head coach and the 9th time all-time for Louisville. We're not done yet, though. Coming up next, number 2 versus number 1 in the East region, Ohio State and Syracuse. That's still to come. It'll tip off at the top of the hour here on ESPN. Our NCAA tournament coverage continues in just a few moments, but we will wrap this one up for now from Phoenix and U.S. Airways Center, where Louisville pulling off a stunning comeback and bites the Gators. And at the same time, sends the Cardinals to the Final Four in New Orleans. There's 3 spots left in New Orleans. Louisville has just taken the first one. For our entire crew, I'm Mark Brown. So long for now. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sport. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Congratulations to Louisville, West Region champions. They are going to New Orleans.